Alright, welcome back for my John video. Alright, so I had just did Genesis 13, and as I explained in my my John video, my Genesis video, and I was explaining at the beginning of every Bible study video I do. At the end of whatever Bible study I'm currently doing, I will have a playlist to the other videos for that at the end of the video. So for this one, it is John video. I will have a link to the John playlist at the end of this video. That way you can go and take a look at the previous John chapters I've already done. I've already done the 1 through 12. So if you have not watched those, you can go take a look at that if you want to. Otherwise, you can just stay where I'm at and just continue going. I do want to give you guys a slight heads up, and I really do apologize if this is a little overwhelming or if this is just a little too much chaotic for you, but my Bible has kind of taken a life of its own. And before you say, I already know the Bible is alive and it is a living word and that kind of stuff. But I mean, before in my previous videos, I was not really writing or highlighting or taking any kind of notes in my Bible, or even putting anything in my Bible. I've kind of started getting more into that lately, and well, John chapter 13 has a ton of information in it that when I did this chapter, it literally exploded, and it's a little chaotic. And as I wanted to apologize to you ahead of time in case it just seems to be a little much. So I am going to be doing another video from above where you guys are actually following along where I'm reading, and I'm actually reading off the notes that I have pointed out, or kind of just explaining what a certain area or certain paragraph or certain line means. But like I said, I went a little overboard with the color and a little overboard with the notes on this one, so it might seem just a tad bit chaotic, and I kind of want to give you guys a heads up just in case for some reason it just be too much for you guys. So let me go ahead and show you guys real quick, okay? Woo! Alright. So, that was the previous chapter, okay? So, as you can tell, there's not a whole lot of notes in the side here. I mean, it is a little bit. I do have a sticky note for here. I do have some. But this one here, Stranger chapter 13, is the beginning of it. And this is what I'm saying, like, okay, so this is what I'm talking about. So there's a lot of notes here. It's a lot of highlights. I get 2 sticky notes for it. I will have to kind of wheedle this off in order to read that little bit right there. There's another big paragraph right there. Little things, and it goes all down to here. And see, this is what I'm saying. This looks a little chaotic. Okay, and I just want to explain that this one exploded really bad because there's a lot of information in chapter 13 that I could not ignore, and I really wanted to point out all of this kind of stuff. Now, the reason why I got into starting to write in my Bible is because of the fact that if for some reason, say like the rapture happens tomorrow, okay, and I disappear, okay, I want to be able to have my Bible out where my old man can find it, or my roommate can find it, and then if they wanted to throughout the tribulation, the rapture, after the rapture, they can kind of open my Bible and there's all these notes here on the side, and they can kind of feel like they are right near me or right next to me, and I'm telling them, hey, this is what you need to know, this is what's happening, etc., etc. It just kind of makes it a little more personal touch, and just I know it doesn't make sense. It's just mainly meant for in case someone else finds my Bible, that I might be able to help them after we're gone. I mean, that's one thing, but it's also personally meant for me too. So if I want to go back and read it again, I can kind of see what I wrote, and then my personal growth from the first time I read it to like the third time I read it to like the 15th time I read it. Anyways, let's just go ahead and get into it and start off with 13. Let's start off with the chapter. All right, so we are going into Jesus washes his disciples' feet. Before I get into this, okay, I just want to explain that personally, okay, and this kind of came out to be a little bit of a debate between me and another person. Personally, I think this chapter 13, at least up until where is it? Up until this part here, up until 20. I personally think this is a parable. It is a acted out parable. Not exactly a parable, but still a form of a parable. And I'll explain right here. I even put right here why I think it's a parable. But it came to be a little bit of a debate between me and someone else saying, hey, it's not a parable, it is a parable, it's not a parable, etc., etc. I just want to point out that I personally do think it is a parable, and I wanted to explain that ahead of time, and then explain why I think it's a parable. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. So he wanted to point out that, yes, he is going to be soon leaving the world. He's going to go back to God, and he came into the world, and he loved the people until the end, his people. Okay, during the supper, when the devil had already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Now, I'm going to point out the fact that Jesus already knew that this was going to happen. Jesus already knew that Judas was going to be the one to betray him, and at this point, the devil had already made root in Judas and set him up to betray Jesus. Okay, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, he rose from supper. Now, this is a sign of humility. So I just want to point out this little bit right here. It is a sign of humility. And then point out this. It says Luke 22:24 says that his disciples were debating who the greatest who the greatest was, and this is the reason why. Jesus just demonstrates the fact that he was the greatest, and he used this as a sign of humility. Okay, so he's trying to basically just trying to demonstrate who the greatest was out there. Okay. So it says, he laid aside his outer garments, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, do you wash my feet? Jesus answered him, what I am doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand. Peter said to him, you shall never wash my feet. Now, the reason why he probably is doing this is because it was really awkward. Okay, back then, all they wore was sandals, and the roads were really dirty. So more than likely, their feet were really dirty. Their feet were really smelly, and that's kind of that's something you really just don't want your Lord and Savior, your rabbi, your teacher to be getting that kind of close and personal with your feet when they're that dirty and that smelly. So that's kind of why he was doing that way. Jesus answered him, if I do not wash you, you have no share with me. But so yep, he's basically like, hey, you don't have a choice. I'm going to do it anyways, unless you don't want to share with me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hand and my head. Jesus said to him, "The one who has bathed does not need to wash, except for his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you. For he knew who was to betray him. That was why he said, not all of you are clean." So he's basically pointing out again that he knows someone's going to betray him, and not all of them are clean. Now, Jesus is, like I said, here's pointing out here. Okay, as I mentioned above, this is a sign of humility, and Jesus is acting out this parable because actions speak louder than words. Okay, that's the reason why I'm pointing out the fact that this is a form of a parable. Okay, when he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, "Do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you also should do just as I have done to you." So he's basically setting an example that we need to be bathed by our trust in Jesus and what he did for us on the cross. Okay, it says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him." Okay, if you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading through my own writing. I'm not speaking of all of you. I know whom I have chosen, but the scriptures will be fulfilled. He who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me. I am telling you this now, before it takes place, that when it does take place, you may believe that I am he. Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever receives the one I send receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me. Now, what I want to point out is so Jesus knew all along the fact is that one of his disciples were going to betray him. He also knew all along that one of them was going to deny him 3 times. Okay, and so when it says the scripture will be fulfilled, he who ate my bread was lifted come from Psalms 41:9. I just want to point that out. Okay, but another thing I want to point out, the fact is that just because Jesus knows that someone is going to betray him, just because he knows that someone is going to deny him 3 times, does not mean that he is not troubled by it. Okay, Jesus knows that all this is going to happen, and by telling them, hey, someone is going to betray me, someone is going to deny me 3 times, it shows that he is in control by knowing everything. Okay, so, and okay, I got a little ahead of myself. This is where he basically tells them, hey, someone's going to betray me. Okay, after saying these things, Jesus was troubled in his spirit and testified, truly, truly, I say to you, one of you will betray me. So, as he already mentioned kind of up here, that someone was going to betray him. He already mentioned here as well that one of them, or some of them, was not clean. So he is basically telling him, hey, I already know one of you guys is going to betray me. You guys can't trick me. There's nothing you guys can do or say or anything I don't know. The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he spoke. One of his disciples, whom Jesus loved, was reclining at the table at Jesus' side. So Simon Peter motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. Okay, let me make this real quick without hopefully ripping it. Okay, there we go. That's good enough. Alright, So one of the disciples whom Jesus loved was reclining at the table beside him. And I want to point out the kind of the order of how they're sitting. So it was Judas, then Jesus, then John. Okay, and so the one who was reclining next to him, when Simon Peter mentioned to him, to ask Jesus, of course, whom he's speaking, he was actually kind of indicating to Judas. He was actually, I think he was talking to Judas, or he was talking to John. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how this works. But anyways, one of the disciples whom Jesus loved was reclining at the table at Jesus' side. So Simon Peter motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he's speaking. So that disciple, leaning back against Jesus, said to him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, It is he to whom I will give this morsel of bread when I have dipped it." So when he had dipped the morsel, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. Then after he had taken the morsel, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, What you are going to do quickly. Now no one at the table knew why he said this to him. Some thought that because Judas had the money bag, Jesus was telling him, buy what we need for the feast, or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving the morsel of bread, he immediately went out, and it was night. Now I'm going to point out a couple things. Okay, so this right here. So when it comes to feet cleaning, okay, so too hot means we are too fervent and zealous. Too cold means we are cold and distant in heart to them, and sometimes ourselves. The temperature needs to be right in the middle, and we can't dry clean someone else's feet. So I'm basically trying to say is that in order for us to wash other people's feet, and we're supposed to kind of repeat what Jesus did here, we need to have the temperature to be right in the middle, to where we're not being too fervent and we're not being completely distant in heart to them. Okay, just to say. Now, here I want to point this out. It says Jesus' life was and is an example and lesson to his disciples and to us. We are like his disciples, and we'd gladly wash the feet of Jesus, but he tells us to wash one another's feet. We have to be careful of the temperature, which is why I mentioned this. Okay, that's the reason why I mentioned that part. Now, if you go into this part here, so at this point he's basically telling them, if I can get it clear, so he's basically telling them that to his Father. He's telling this to his faithful disciples, that they will remain confident in him. Okay, so he's trying to give him reassurance. Okay, and one of the disciples whom Jesus loved, I'm pretty sure that's referring to Judas, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm still looking into that. Now, I want to point this out right. I'm going to turn it sideways. Okay, so whom Jesus loved connects back to the cross on 4 times that was used in John. So in John 13:23 in the upper room. Okay, 19:26 at the cross of Jesus. At 21 and chapter 22 at the empty tomb, and in 21:20 with the risen Jesus at the Sea of Galilee. Okay, whoops, sorry. Alright, so whom Jesus loved. Okay, I'm pointing out specifically just that line. Is basically trying to connect all of these back to the cross, is what I'm trying to say. I'm hoping that makes sense. Alright, now, so Jesus gave Judas a dipped morsel, morsel, and he gave it to Judas, and that was trying to indicate, saying, hey, he's the one who's going to betray me, and it was a special honor at that point. So Satan only able to enter Jesus, Satan is only able to enter Judas because Judas rejected the love and favor of Jesus. Just saying. Okay, so that's the reason why Judas was able to do what he did. So back at the very beginning here, when I was questioning why this was even possible, this is the reason why. Okay, so Judas had rejected the love and favor of Jesus, and that is the reason why Satan was able to do what he did. That's why Satan was able to get a hold of him. Okay, so now we're going into the new commandment. Okay, all right. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I forgot one thing. So, Matthew 26:25, there's another reference that I think you guys should take a look at. This is a little more in depth of this. I think you guys will appreciate that. Okay, so when he had gone out, Jesus said, Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and glorify him at once. Okay, so there's 5 references to glory here. Okay, so he's glorifying the Son of Man. God is being glorified. God is glorifying in him, so the Son of Man. And God will also glorify him, Son of Man, in himself. And then glorify him all at once. So there's 5 references of glory in here. Now, little children, it's nothing degrading or anything. It's a form of tenderness. Yet a little while I am with you. You will seek me, and just as I said to the Jews, so now I also say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. So basically, he's telling them that he's going to be leaving soon, and he wants them to basically love the people as he does. He's basically trying to tell them, hey, I love all of you guys. I love everyone, regardless of the fact that they're trying to kill me, the fact that they're trying to condemn me, and all that kind of stuff. And he's basically saying, I want you guys to do the exact same thing. That way people know that you are my disciples, and you're kind of setting an example for them. Okay, so he reveals soon that he will repart to them, or I cannot talk today. He would depart from them and go back to heaven, and then, like I said, he gives a new commandment of loving everyone. Okay, now here is Peter's denial. So Simon Peter said to him, Lord, where are you going? Jesus answered him, where I am going you cannot follow me now, but you will follow afterward. Peter said to him, Lord, why can I not follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. That's an example. We should be doing the exact same thing, saying, hey, we want to follow you now, and we're willing to do this for you. Now Jesus answered and says, will you lay down your life for me? Truly, truly, I say to you, the rooster will not crow till you have denied me 3 times. Okay, so basically, Peter wants to know where he's going so that he can follow him. But Jesus tells him that eventually he will betray him too. Maybe not to the extent that Judas is right now, but eventually he will. Okay, eventually he will betray him, and he will actually deny that he knows who Jesus is 3 times. But I just kind of want to point out the fact that we should be doing this now. Okay, we should be doing following him now, and basically maybe not laying down our life for him in the way that he's meaning it, but we should be giving our entire life to Jesus. We should be committing our entire existence, I guess, to him, because Jesus did the exact same thing for us already. So, and yeah, and that is John 13. I know I messed up quite a bit. I'm really, really sorry. There are some things that are just a little confusing here. But yes. So I hope you guys got the general premises of this chapter. I'll go quick. So basically, Jesus he's washing their feet as a form of humility and saying, hey, this is what you guys should be doing for each other, and you guys should be washing each other's feet and helping with the temperature of being right in the middle, etc. He also tells them, hey, that I already know exactly what's going on. I do know someone's going to betray me, and you guys are going to, that Peter here is going to deny me 3 times. And at that point, he demonstrates that, at this point here, he demonstrates that he knew exactly who was going to betray him. And Satan already entered him and possessed him, and the reason why he did was because Judas had denied the love and favor Jesus had already given him, and he had left because he felt embarrassed and he was humiliated for it. And then he gives the new commandment of telling us to love each other and to set an example that Jesus does. Jesus loves everyone. He loves us all, and he wants us to follow in his example, his footsteps for that. And then, of course, as I said, Peter denying Jesus 3 times before the rooster crows. So, once again, Jesus is in complete control. Let me turn this real quick. Yes, so like I said, Jesus is in complete control of what is happening. He knows exactly what is going to happen. Even now, he still knows what's going to happen, and he's basically telling you guys, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'm in complete control. I know everything. There's nothing you can do or say or hide from me. I know it. Okay? You guys might not know it, but I know it. He might be like, if they say there's an example, like 2 people here. This person might not know it, but this person knows it, and he's kind of indicating that, hey, I know what's going on. So that's the kind of reason why I really like this chapter. There's a lot of information in this chapter. Like I said, it's a little chaotic. I do apologize for that, but yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys uploaded, and I will see you guys in the next video. I really, really hope you guys understood this. And if for some reason you guys just don't like me doing this kind of video, let me know. I'll go back to doing a video like this instead of actually showing my Bible, because that was kind of chaotic. But anyways, you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye guys.